Hey everyone, welcome back to the 90s. Today I'm so excited to introduce you guys to my latest project that I've been working so hard on, and she's finally ready to be introduced to the world. This is the Influencer palette by Ladycode, and I was super inspired by 90s vibes, which is totally making a comeback right now, and also just like the tie-dye, unicorn, and colorful pastels that we've been loving on Instagram and TikTok lately. So I'm gonna give you a quick tour of the palette. This is the inside. All of the names were inspired by a lot of things that I say on my Instagram, going from detox tea to swipe up, hashtag ad, presets, collab, subscribe. There's just so much in here that's just so much fun, and we're just gonna embrace everything that influencers are about. Every single person has the power of influence, whether you have 2 followers or 2 million followers. We all do influence somebody. So I want you guys to get creative with this palette, and with this palette, you literally have all of the tools that you need to create almost any look, from an everyday natural look to something super edgy and editorial that you see on Instagram. I want you guys to be super inspired by this palette. I've been loving this palette and I've been using it on all of my clients and my photo shoots lately, and I'm sure that a lot of these colors look familiar to you. So we have 8 full pigmented mattes in this palette, as well as 2 shimmers. We have a light shimmer and a dark shimmer, and any of these shimmers can be mixed with any of the other colors to make them glow. So today I'm going to show you guys an everyday eyeshadow tutorial that I have been using literally ever since I got my first sample of the eyeshadow palettes. I've been using this look. So now I'm going to teach you guys how to do this look starting right now. Let's go ahead and get right into it. So first I'm using a small flat concealer brush to go into the color Preset. I used concealer as a base, and while the concealer is still wet, I'm going to go ahead and pack that color Preset all over my eyelid. And it doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to be blending everything out. Next, I'm using a fluffy blending brush, and I'm going into the shade Detox Tea, and I'm going to go ahead and blend this out over my crease. Next, I'm going into the shade PR, which is like a nice matte copper color. It's basically like the matte version of Preset, and I'm going to go ahead and use a smaller blending crease brush to smoke out that copper Preset color a little bit more. So I worked really hard to make sure that there's minimal fallout with this palette, but as with most eyeshadow palettes, fallout is a little bit hard to prevent. So I'm gonna go ahead and, just for insurance, use my resting bake face and go ahead and bake under my eyes. And I'm just using a flat powder brush for this. I'm gonna go ahead and pack this as close to my lower lash line as possible. And this is going to catch any fallout, but it's also going to help with blending out the lower lash line, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about in just a second. Now I'm using a teeny tiny pencil brush to go into the color Subscribe, and girl, she is pigmented. I worked so hard for this black color because if you watch Ladycode, you know how I feel about black. And I'm just going to go ahead and smoke out the outer corner because I like to give myself that lifted look, and now I'm pulling it out to make it like a little wing to make my eyes look longer. I'm gonna go ahead and tap this color along my lash line just to give myself a little smoky liner. I'm going into the shade Collab right now with a small flat brush. I'm gonna go ahead and take this to just smooth out the lines between the black shadow and the shimmer. So just by smoking out that shadow, you can see what a difference it makes. This one just looks so much more blended and sultry. Now I'm going back into the shade Detox Tea with a fluffy, teeny tiny skinny blending brush like this one, and I'm gonna go ahead and smoke out my lower lash line. This is my favorite part because this is where the magic happens. So I'm just pulling it all the way down and letting it blend with the resting bake face, and you can see how that loose powder bake is catching and blending perfectly with that Detox Tea shade right now. I'm going back into the shade Collab with that same flat brush. I'm gonna go ahead and smoke out my lash line and go tighter into my lash line. Okay, so now the lower lash line is smoked out. I'm so happy with this look. It just looks really nice and natural. So now I get to go ahead and brush off my resting bake face. So now my look is done with the Influencer palette. My eyes look amazing. I just have to add lashes in just a second. But first I want to go ahead and go into my Snatched Face palette to go ahead and touch up my face. So now I'm going into the shade Wig Cap, which is like my favorite bronzing color. You can also use this as an eyeshadow. And I'm going to go ahead and sculpt my cheekbones a little bit. I'm just following the natural contour of my cheeks and then kind of going up, so it's almost like a check mark shape. For blush, I'm gonna go into the shade Fillers, which is like the perfect blush color, and I'm just gonna go ahead and sweep it over the apples of my cheeks. For a highlight, I'm using the shade Halo. It's my favorite highlight color, and I like to apply this with my fingers. I'm just gonna go ahead and find the spot where I want the light to catch the most, and I'm gonna go ahead and sweep Halo right over that area, and you can see how that highlight just really makes my skin look so glowy and pop. For lashes, I'm putting on the Aquarius Lisa lashes. So I have one lash on, and you can see how amazing it looks, and you can see how it just pulls the entire look together. So this is the final look. I have both of my Aquarius Lisa lashes on. I did almost my full face with Ladycode shop products, and I'm so excited for you guys to try out this influencer palette. I worked so hard on this palette to give you all of the tools that you need to get super creative with your looks and do everything from an everyday natural look to something super editorial and perfect for Instagram. Thank you guys so much for watching and supporting me, and I can't wait for you guys to try out this palette.